I am excited to bring to you from Australia VHS Jace, my co-host, and more excited to bring Ethan Phillips to you today. And also exciting, we have Lolita Fatjo with us today. Yay! Beginning a special treat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I had to join my friend up here.
There we go. And I heard that there's some exciting news about a Voyager documentary similar to What We Leave Behind. Can you guys?
Is it on? Is it on?
Yeah, it's on.
Hello. Yes, some of you might have known that the Voyager documentary is in full swing. It's being edited right now. It should be in the theaters for one night in October, late October, and we will be having an LA, New York, and London premiere. If anybody's interested, you can always go to 455 Films website and find out more about that. I know a lot of you already do know about it, and some of you have donated to the project, and we really appreciate that. So before we get started, I'd love to show you a little sneak peek of the documentary. I hope you can see it with all these lights on.
Bother to take an x-ray, he just held me up to the light. This guy told me my blood type was discontinued. See how this came through?
He should have become a stand-up comedian and he would have been one of the greats.
My great uncle was a stand-up comic, Joe Phillips. He was a vaudeville comic. And he would come to our house when I was a little boy, my dad's brother. And I'd see him on Ed Sullivan or Jack Parr. When he would tell the joke, for me it was like magic. So then I started collecting jokes. It's kind of like Tourette's.
When we were looking for the character of Neelix, who was going to be our one little bit of comedy in terms of casting, Ethan was a shoo-in.
I knew who he was from seeing him in Benson.
Uh-oh, we're talking threat here. We're talking cement overshoes. We're talking so long, Stewie.
Really?
I wouldn't laugh this off, Clayton. So you find out who that was, you better have Pete start your car in the morning. Right.
He did wonders in helping us create the character of Neelix.
400 years into the future, and due to some unexplained phenomenon, the crew of the USS Voyager is lost in space. And among others, a 24th century homeless junk collector named Neelix, who in real life spends half his working day getting ugly. If you think about it, he had the hardest job because he had to show up 3 hours before we did. He had to stay 2 hours later than we did because of all the makeup.
That man is a saint, I will say this, because you talk about prosthetics. The only part of him that was exposed, I think, was his bottom lip and like a little strip of his chin. Everything, including contacts, was covered.
You don't realize how much you touch yourself during the day, your face and your contacts, and you can't when that's on for 16 hours. It still is a sweet job, and I'm glad I was a makeup character in that show. You don't realize how much you touch yourself all day. Me too, to cancel or something.
He's up here saying, I can't watch myself. I can't watch myself. I can't watch myself.
I'd rather drop LSD with the Taliban.
Wow. Okay. Just before we move on, we have a lot of great merchandise that we put out for the documentary, and we have a table down there where Chase is signing. So this is one of the T-shirts we've got down there, and this all goes to the Voyager documentary to make it even better. And we've got some of Captain Janeway's coffee mugs that we had no idea how popular those were going to be. We ordered 1,200 and we ran out before we could even blink an eye. So we ordered some more. So anyway, that stuff is down there near Chase's table. So just go by and see it if you care to. And there's Raymond will talk to you a little bit more about it. So thank you. And I hope you all come see the documentary when it comes out.
And also down there's some lint from my pocket.
Everything's valuable is coming from him, so it's
I pulled it out.
Well, they're bidding already. They're bidding. You're selling your lint. Let's go. $20. You said $40? $40. Come on. Oh, I'm really not good at selling stuff.
Oh, that's all right. I'm not either. It's nice to be here. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. I don't know what the hell I'm going to say.
He's amazing, right? Yeah.
This is such a strange life. I mean, I'm home. I don't do much. You know, I eat breakfast. I read. I take a walk, and then like every 8 or 9 months, I come to one of these things and people want their picture with me. Very, very strange.
Yeah.
But fun.
Yeah.
But fun.
Well, yeah, it's fun.
That's the life of a superhero, right?
Yeah.
I think you're underselling yourself, Ethan. You have had one of the most exceptional careers throughout your life.
Exceptional?
I would say exceptional. You have personally been part of my life ever since I was a kid. We saw a clip of Benson there. But this man here has been in some of the most amazing films throughout his career. From Critters, yes, I love Critters. From The Exceptional Green Card, to Inside Llewyn Davis with the Coen brothers, to Glory. The list goes on, guys. If you want to spend the next 7 hours just delving into an exceptional career, get on IMDb and check this man out. You're multi-talented, Ethan, in the sense that they talked comedian, but you fit into so many different genres.
Thank you so much. But it was one of your Australians who taught me how to act in film, Peter Weir.
Peter Weir is an exceptional. If you don't know who Peter Weir is, you need to research Peter Weir. He's an exceptional guy.
He directed Green Card, and he's an Australian director, and he's really, really great, I think. So I was doing this scene with Gerard Depardieu in the movie, and Peter would not go to Video Village. Video Village is a thing on the set where they have the monitor, and the director's looking at the TV. You're over there acting, but he's watching you on TV. And then he goes, cut, let's do it again. But Peter would come over and crouch right next to you and stare at your face. He'd be like 2 feet from your face. And it was not intimidating, but it was different.
It would have been intimidating to you because you had one of like the greatest French film actors you were working with.
Depardieu is, I think one of the great actors that ever lived, film actors. So anyway, so I had this monologue, this scene with him, and I do it, and I thought I'm doing pretty good. But about a third of the way through it, Peter goes, he turns away and he goes, cut. And so he must not have been liked it too much. He said, I want to do it again. Let's go. And so we do the second cut. And again, he's crouched there and about, halfway through the scene. And I know now that means that he doesn't like it. And we do this 4 or 5 times. And finally he says, Ethan, it's just a relaxed revelation of yourself. Let's do it as you. And it really made an impression on me. And I said, all this stuff went through my head. I said, yeah, real emotions, but imaginary circumstances. Right. And I did it again, and I killed it. And he went, that's it, moving on. And he was really instrumental in helping me. Because if you see me in Critters, I had no idea what I was doing. I'd come up from the stage, and I was trying to reach the people in the 50th row. Yeah. And so everybody said, when you do film, you just don't do anything. So if you see me in Critters, I'm like this. I have no concept of how to act in film.
Well, you were in the first Critters. For some reason, they didn't call you back for the second, but you do come back strong in the third, I believe. You're in the third Critters as well, aren't you?
I might
Probably can't remember.
I don't know.
I do, I remember, because I watched it too much as a kid. Moving on to Trek.
Yes. So you were the ambassador of a ship lost in space. But I noticed in researching you, you've got so much like energy and positivity behind the stage. Because I see so many wonderful pictures, of course you in full Neelix, but taking pictures with everybody. Can you tell us some of the like highlights of your time in Voyager behind the scenes?
I just used to mess around a lot. See, I couldn't sleep because I crushed the wig, and I couldn't close my eyes because of the contact lenses. So I was awake the whole time. So I was just hanging out all the time. I couldn't talk on the phone because it would stick to the makeup. So I just hung out at craft service and made jokes. But I used to moon Kate every time she came on the bridge. Every single time I go, Captain, I think you dropped this thing right here. And it used to make her laugh so hard. And then whenever Tim was at the console, and he's puttering with those fake buttons, I would occasionally, not all the time, but I would crawl up underneath the console and look up and see him. Captain, I think, and I go, it's fake, Tim. I'm just an actor. Those are not real buttons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your character was basically trying to spend so much time trying to make him laugh, and you could do it in real life with no problem.
He really needed to be liked, that guy Neelix. He really needed to be liked. My God. And when I think about that, he wanted to bond with everybody. He was a needy guy. He was a neurotic guy, but he was a good guy. He wore his heart on his sleeve, and awfully jealous. And why? I don't know what kind of relationship he had with Kes. Was it platonic or was it romantic? Does anybody know? Well, I have no idea.
Well, you want to make it up?
I'd rather say it was platonic.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a lot safer to say that.
Otherwise I'll get...
They're super friends. Get it? Yeah.
They call it a situationship. Situationship is the new way to say something like that. Yeah.
But Jennifer was such a wonderful, wonderful actor, and it was so much fun to act with her. And she was just so present when you watch her work. She's really good. Yeah. Jennifer Lee, just terrific. But the whole cast was they're just great people. What a lucky gig, you know? I mean, you spend your whole life trying to get something like that, and when you do, it's such, you got to be so grateful for it. I'm very happy. I can't believe it. 25 years later, people are still talking about this, and Jake and the Fat Man are the two shows I think people talk about the most. That was awesome. Am I right?
Yes. You're sitting up here with two Fat Men today. Look at that.
Yeah, that's true. But Neelix wasn't your first introduction into Star Trek. No. First time I remember seeing him in Star Trek was an episode called Menage a Troy. Yeah. And was that the first time you'd ever experienced full makeup?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was 86, I think.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of makeup jobs since then, but that was the first one. But I was so happy to do that. I got to say the following line to Marina. Women do not deserve the honor of clothing.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a pretty rad line. It was pretty great.
Yeah. I still have the teeth from that.
Oh, really?
I still have, in Critters, when I was killed in the beginning, I still have the
no way.
Thing. I took it, put it in a little plastic bag. I still have it.
That's so cool.
I'm doing a death purge. Seriously, it's a Swedish concept where when you get older, like I am, I'll be, 52 next week?
That's what I heard, yeah. 51. It's what it says on IMDb and Wikipedia.
And anyway, so I want to, my sweetheart, my wife passed away a year and a half ago, and she was the love of my life, and now I'm getting old, and so there's nobody in my place but me. It's a little apartment in Manhattan, and so when I die, I don't want my lovely family. I had 5 sisters and 15 nieces and nephews, and 29 great nieces and nephews. And when they come over, I don't want them to be overwhelmed by all this crap. What do we do with all of this stuff? So I'm going through everything, and it's just going to save stuff that means stuff to me. And I'm finding the weirdest things. Like in 1978, I lived in a little apartment on the Upper West Side. It was a terrible place. It was tiny. I used the medicine cabinet as a spice rack. It was you couldn't turn around in this place. And I shared a bathroom on the floor with 2 other guys. And I won't tell you about those guys because they were really weird people. And in the bathroom, there was a sign over the toilet, and it said, "Do not flush anything other than toilet paper down the toilet, for it will flood the floor." So my friend Mike used to come over, and every time he'd go in there and he'd come out, he'd say, "For it will flood the floor." That's the worst syntax I've ever seen in my life. I said, the guy's Polish. I think it's pretty good that he speaks. Still, for it will, you don't need a "for it will flood the floor." And he used to complain about this all the time. So when I moved, I took the little sheet of paper and I put it in an envelope. And a couple of weeks ago, I'm going through my shit, and I pull out this thing from 1978. that. And what I did was I mailed it to Mike, who's a nephrologist up in upstate New York. And he could not believe it. He was just laughing so hard. Just finding stuff like that, from the old days.
Yeah.
Do you still have your Ferengi teeth? Is that what they were?
I had the Ferengi teeth from Menage a Troy.
Do you know that Max would probably pay thousands of dollars for those?
And I bet you we can have a bidding war here for those.
Yeah, we can do it.
Because Max was crushed when he lost his ROM teeth a few years ago. Literally crushed. So, you might want to bargain with Max the next time you see him.
Well, I'll give him to Max. Every time I went on, it was the last thing I put on was the teeth, because they kind of hurt, and I won't work on my teeth. And Scott Wheeler was my makeup guy. He always had my teeth, and I put them in. To this day, I've done lots of jobs since then, but every job I'm like, my teeth. Oh no! I'm still. They go at you. I go, where are my teeth? It's just stayed with me. Who cares? I don't.
I always wondered, since you started out as a villain, so to speak, a maniacal scientist that was doing brain experiments on Beta Zeds, and then you played such a different character. Which did you have more fun doing? Because villains can be fun. You could be over the top.
Yeah, I never get to play villains, and I've done lots of stuff, but I think twice I played a villain. That was one of them.
Yeah.
And Euless on Enterprise was another one. And I did an episode of Criminal Minds where I played a killer. And those are really, I think, of the hundreds of television shows and movies I've done, the only times I've ever played a villain. I got this menschy face. And they just don't see me as being dangerous or evil. And little do they know.
If you watch Menage a Troy, for sure, you did such a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, they should have brought him back. And I think they missed a big opportunity. I don't know about you guys, if you remember Menage a Troy, having
who could forget?
Just with the title alone.
I can't forget it.
Look, you kind of mentioned your career. I think it's over 350 television roles that you did. Is that the number correct?
About close to 400, yeah.
That's crazy. At least, you were working. Because I'm sure at one point somebody said to you, you're going to be an actor, so you're never going to have a full-time
Yeah, they all laughed. They all laughed. No, they're not laughing now. That's like the comedians. Everybody laughed when they told me when I told them I wanted to be a comedian. Well, they're not laughing now. Huh? No, I was for a short, bald guy who can't sing or dance. I had a lot of luck. I was in the right place at the right time a lot of times.
Now with Neelix, did you audition for that? Was that offered to you?
I had auditioned for that. I auditioned for every single thing I've ever done. Nobody offers me anything.
I thought that would have been a no-brainer because your relationship with them. So they failed then, but they did right by hiring you.
But they knew me from, Rick Berman and those guys knew me from that, and they'd had me in for other parts that I hadn't gotten, and they were tired. They had been looking for a Neelix for 3 months, and they had been to Chicago, New York, and LA, and they could not find, and I think they were just frustrated. And it came down between me and an actor from England named Alan Courtner, who's a brilliant actor. And I was just, I was what they wanted that day, and they just, let's get this cast. And it just worked out that way.
Well, it's such an expansive cast as well that you needed to find someone that was going to fit within that already existing cast. And you marry so well in with the rest of them. I think my feeling of Neelix, I don't know what the guys think, but every time Neelix is on screen, it was like he was wrapped in a wool blanket. Yeah. He was your safety net. You knew when Neelix was on that you were going to get something interesting to watch on screen. And
well, that's very kind of you to say that. He's not the most popular character. He could be a very annoying guy, and I get that,
I always thought with Neelix that underneath his happy facade there was simmering anger there. Yeah. Like if you pushed Neelix in the wrong direction, he could snap. Am I right in thinking that?
You're right, because he had a great deal of trauma as a young Talaxian.
Yeah. I can't remember which episode it was, but there's one where you absolutely go bonkers. You get really angry, and I think it's about going back to a species that had wiped out a lot of Talaxians. I'm sure one of you guys know the episode I'm talking about. But it was always shocking to see Neelix. It was scary to see you freak out.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show the depth of character that not only Neelix was, but you as an actor.
Well, the character had to be angry. You know, I think actors are people that are born, they don't want to be famous or rich. They're born with this kind of neurotic need to behave privately in public. And I don't know where it comes from or why it is. Maybe it's some kind of a deficiency disease. Did I get enough love or whatever? What propels somebody to do that? But I wanted to do it from the age of 7. I wanted to be the guy in the illusion, walking around. I didn't want to write it. I didn't want to light it. I didn't want to cater it. I wanted to be the guy inside. And I didn't want to direct nothing. I just wanted to be the guy inside the illusion. And I used to go to school, I remember walking to the bus stop and thinking, Ethan Phillips in the 2nd grade. And then my friend Chuck would come out starring Chuck LaBella, and also starring Meade Brown. And these are my friends. And I had this, and I used to doodle stages and cameras, and because my mom explained it to me very early when I was a little boy. We were watching a show from the 1950s called Panic, and people are leaving the room. I can be more interesting.
They're gone. They're gone.
Their food order is here. They were hoping you were going to cook it, but...
Oh, okay. Sorry. I can't be more interesting. That was a pretty good line. And anyway, so I was freaking out because on the screen was this... A family was in a car and the car brake had failed and they were going towards the cliff, and I started crying, getting really scared, and my mother... I was like 7, and she said, honey, it's okay, they're photographing this, they're going to have a break, they're going to have a cigarette, they're going to do it again, they're actors, they're being filmed, this is what they do. She told the whole thing to me, and I got it. I was like 7, I went, this is what people do? This is how they, and I just wanted that so bad, and you just didn't do it. You didn't become an actor where I was from. I just grew up in Hempstead, and my father was a saloon keeper, and nobody became actors. But I remember looking around in college and looking at everybody who was doing this. I think I can do that just as well as them. So it must come down to 3 things: tenacity, talent, and luck. And I was tenacious, and I had some talent, but I was a lucky man in the right place at the right time. No, I could tell you things that happened purely because of luck. And I had so many friends who were superior to me in the craft who never made it, because they didn't have the luck, and so I'm very grateful for that.
So absolutely. Yeah, and we're thankful for it. We lucked out too. We got such a great character, such a great actor over the years.
Thank you.
Yeah, and of course, I would be remiss. You have a CD coming out with the Rat Pack.
We do.
Yes, with your fellow
Star
Trek alumni. Can you give us it's out already.
So, yes, we're very, very proud of this. We've been doing the Rat Pack for, 15 years almost. Some of you have probably seen it. It's an amazing show. And we finally got the CD produced, and we're very proud of it. And I know a lot of people don't have CD players anymore, but it's really a great memento. And it's signed by Max, Jeff Combs, Casey Biggs, Vaughn Armstrong, and Ethan Phillips. So we did bring a few of these with us. They're at Ethan's table if you'd like to stop by. Otherwise, there's Star Trek, theratpack.com. You can go to that and find out about it. But this is only the 2nd convention we've ever had these at. The only other one was in San Francisco in March. So this is new. And by the way, they're selling really well on the site. Yeah, they are.
So make sure you go up and get one.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Were you always into jazz and big bands? Is that something that kind of was an easy transgression or transition? Right?
I started playing the saxophone in high school because of the Dave Clark Five. Who remembers the Dave Clark Five? There you go.
All right, yeah.
They were the band from Tottenham that came in after the Beatles. And then they were the next big band from England, the Dave Clark Five. And they had a guy named Denny Payton who played the tenor saxophone. And I remember, again, turning to my mom and going, "What's that?" She said, "That's a saxophone, honey." I said, "I want to play that." And so I just started playing it, and I took lessons, and I still take And one of my very good friends, Andy Farber, is in the audience, who is a brilliant professional saxophonist who teaches jazz composition at Juilliard. And he's a Star Trek fan and came up to me one day at a convention, and I said, "Who do I make it out to?" He said, "Andy." I said, "Andy, what do you do?" He said, "I play the saxophone." I looked up, I said, "Holy shit." So he's pretty amazing player, extraordinary. I just saw he just did a huge concert that he wrote at Lincoln Center. That was fantastic. Whitney Marsalis and everybody. This man is the real thing, and I don't jam with him.
So you guys jam out?
It would be pathetic.
My dad played saxophone, so my dad's same age as me too. Yeah. Are you my dad? No. Tenor. Yeah.
Tenor is really the only. Sorry, tenor. Everything else is a pussy. The tenor is the icon of jazz. Tenor saxophone. Sorry, I'm very picky. Yeah. Thank you.
I have a million questions for Ethan, but I'm sure people over there have some questions for Ethan. So why don't we get people to line up? And is that right? They're going to line up here on the right, and we'll give you a hot mic. And please,
not too hot. We don't want to burn anybody.
No, we don't want to burn you.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
I've got plenty of dad jokes if you want. No.
Yeah. All right. Mate, fire away, and remember, you're talking to a legend here. So.
Are you a good cook in real life like you are?
Am I a good cook in real life? No, I'm not. I don't really cook much. And I was telling somebody that, like I said, last night for dinner I had a can of beans and Vienna sausage. And that is the truth. I take the can of beans, and then I take the Vienna sausage, which I drain, and I put them in with beans, and then put that in the microwave. It's a great meal. It fills you up, and it's all over in about a minute.
The exact opposite of Neelix.
I was going to say, Neelix was questionable with his cooking skills at some times, wasn't he? Yeah. Not everybody was a fan of Neelix's cooking on the ship.
No. That was all fake food anyway. Yeah. Unless we had to eat it, and then they made it real off of the...
What was one of your favorite episodes?
Probably my two favorite episodes were Jetrel and Mortal Coil. But I have a fondness for an episode called Rise that I did with Tim Russ, where I finally tell him off, and he hears me, and that was Tim and I are still we're in touch every day. We constantly text. He and his sister and brother and I have this thread. It's all political, but I think that was a very good scene for me. But I like Jetrel because it was about forgiving people, and which is not always the easiest thing to do, and I like Mortal Coil because it was about whether there is or isn't an afterlife. It doesn't matter. We still have to be kind and do the right thing, and Neelix learned that. Yes. And that's a powerful message because we don't know if there's an afterlife. No. I believe there is.
I hope there is. I've been doing a lot of good things.
Yeah. No, I'm convinced we find out everything after we die, and then the answers are so profound they sustain us for infinity. What do you think of that?
Go ahead, Miss.
My next guest, Andy. Oh, this is yes. Oh, yes, ma'am. Hi.
Hi, big guy.
Sorry.
Hi, I'm Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
We met years ago at a convention.
I remember you were wearing green.
So, it's not easy to obviously be stranded on a spaceship and not know if you're ever going to make it home. And so I want to ask you, tell me about jumping into that again with Avenue 5. And would you satisfy my headcanon that maybe you weren't playing a different character?
In Avenue 5?
Yeah.
No, he was a kind of a lascivious predator in some ways. Not a villain, though. But yeah, that was a fun show to do. Very funny writers, and a very funny show. Very dry. People liked it, but the pandemic. We would have gone on, but the pandemic busted us up. So we couldn't finish the. We left on a big what do they call it? Cliffhanger. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to answer that. But Hugh Laurie was a very, very funny man. And I remember once he and I were about to make an entrance, and he says to me, Ethan, those clothes you're wearing, are they yours? I said, no, Hugh, this is a costume. He said, yeah. And the door you're about to go through, is that a real door? And I said, no, it's a fake door. He said, yeah. And when you go through that door, you're going to say some lines. Are they your words? And I said, no, Hugh, the writers wrote them. He said, yes. Now, please tell me that acting isn't the most infantilizing profession in the world.
So one of the
very funny man.
One of the wild things about Neelix was his costumes. Do you think he would ever wear anything like that today? I mean, it's the future now, 25 years later.
So nice.
Would Neelix wear that today?
Would you wear that? Any of Neelix's clothes? Yeah.
Did your plane lose oxygen on the way in? Why would
That's it.
It was made from
I
upholstery.
like those, Jack. Those were...
He literally, Bob Blackman took curtains and upholstery and all kinds of fabrics like that, and that's what he created. So it was, I mean, I was so hot in that makeup, and then I had to put on layers of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just made it warmer and warmer.
Yeah.
But they were very inventive. Is he still around, Bob Blackman?
We're not sure.
Yeah. He was just a great costume. I came from the theater, really knew his stuff. So he was
Very unique
Yeah.
material and stuff that
he just was terrific.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wear it today. I wouldn't wear it then.
it pretty well smacks the 90s kind of.
Yeah.
Amalgamation of different...
Right.
Yeah, which is nice.
I'd love to mention about one of the most emotional episodes I ever saw you in was Neelix's goodbye episode. And particularly a scene when you're saying goodbye to the crew. That was one of the most emotional moments I think I ever saw on Voyager. And I did a little bit of research. Some of those, they weren't all actors standing there, were they?
All those people on the sidelines were the crew. We had 150 crew people, and they took them and they gave them uniforms. And so when I was walking down that thing saying goodbye, I was saying goodbye to everybody I'd been working with for 7 years. The best boy, the caterer's assistant, the camera operator, they were all standing there in their uniforms, and it was very emotional. And then, of course, the moment I had with Tim, which was really amazing. Tim and I, the very first day of work, we happened to walk down this alley between stage 7 and stage 8, and just Tim and I, and we hadn't worked yet. We were just going to work for and we kind of talking to each other, getting to know each other a little bit. And then on my last day of work, he said, "Come on, I want to take a walk with you." And we walked back, two of us walked down the alley again together.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. He seems like a cold, but Tim has a real soft, buttery heart.
Yeah. He's kind of had a similar kind of journey. He was in Trek a little bit, and then out, and then kind of
Spaceball.
then became part of Voyager. So, he's a very funny guy too.
What's that?
He's a very funny guy, Tim.
Tim? Oh,
Yeah.
Terrific.
Also a musician, too.
Yeah.
Wonderful musician. I played with this group before. He's a really great blues guitarist and singer. Really amazing.
Yeah.
And he's also an amateur astrophysicist. He knows everything about the heavens. He has these huge telescopes and stuff. Hello, sir. How are you?
Yeah, we got a question. Go ahead, sir.
So I wanted to ask you about what did you think about when the idea came up of the episode of Neelix and Tuvok being meld together in
Tuvix, yeah. I don't know, I auditioned for I tried to audition for Tuvix. Seriously, I said to Bergen, I could play that, but they wanted, and what they got was a guy named Tom Wright, who had worked with in a play years before, and he was the guy in Seinfeld who was cutting his Snickers with the knife. That was Tom Wright. Tom was one of the sweetest guys. And I hadn't seen him for years. And then Robbie and Garrett do a podcast, and we talked about Tuvix, and we got Tom on the show to work with us. I knew it was okay. I mean, I guess it's considered an execution of the character. But, it's not for me to figure out whether that was right or wrong. So I feel sorry for Tuvix, but not for Neelix and Tuvok.
What? No sacrifice, no victory, right?
And that's what makes it one of the great episodes, is that it's up to you to decide how you feel about that situation with Tuvix.
Yeah, well, yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, come on up. Yeah, you're good.
Michael,
Hey,
kind of in
Michael.
relation to what you said about Mortal Coil and Tuvix and Voyager overall, there's like kind of a theme of these really existential questions that would just be dropped and then the next episode is back to normal. And especially for Neelix, comic relief character, these like horribly traumatic things would happen, and it's just like right back to, how did that make you feel like as an actor to just go from
Awful.
being like murdered or the things you said about Tess and you're not sure,
You know what? You just ignore that stuff.
Yeah.
You just on to the next episode, because basically it's just a job. If I invested all that energy into it, I wouldn't have time to do the part. I learned early on. It had to be the first season, and it was the first little girl who played Naomi Wildman, and it was not Scarlett Palmer. It was this little girl. She was like 3 years old, and they couldn't use her because she squirmed too much. But she was a sweetheart, and I had a line to her where I was tucking her into bed, and I said, and she had one of those fake animals. It was called a tark. Does that ring a bell? Or a targ?
Targ, yeah, I play on a targ.
So my line was, "Good night, Mr. Targ," and I shook him up, and so we're shooting it, and I went, while we're filming, I went, "Good night, Mr. Targ, sir." And I heard Cosmo, who was the script supervisor, "There's no sir. It's just good night, Mr. Targ." Cut. The director, "Do you want to say good night, Mr. Targ, sir?" And I said, "Yeah, I think it'd be kind of funny." Okay, and they call the writer's office. And it takes 25 minutes to get an answer. Meanwhile, I'm in 20 pounds of rubber. And I said, "You know what? I'm just going to memorize the lines as they are. I'm never going to improvise again." They were not into improvisation. They were very preparatory towards their script, and as well they should be. They knew what they were doing more than I did. Whereas Armando Iannucci encouraged us to improv all the time. So a totally different attack on it.
Great question. The woman behind you is first, and then, yeah, she has the mic. She's going to give her the mic, please. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Would you ever do a reunion panel of Tim Ross and the rest of the Voyager panel on Long Island?
Say that again?
Would you ever do a reunion panel here on Long Island?
Would I ever do a reunion panel of Voyager and Long Island? No. Absolutely not. I mean, what would be the point?
Ross?
No, I would. Of course I would. I'm just teasing, kidding with you.
Let me just say, speaking of Voyager reunion, so 2025 is the 30th anniversary of Voyager.
Can't believe that.
Wow, that's crazy.
So on the cruise next year in 2025, the entire cast is going to be on that cruise. So if you haven't booked yet and you're thinking of it, I would jump on it because that's going to be
All right,
awesome.
Ernesto, I know you're in the audience. You better get your tickets. All right, young miss? Yes.
Young lady?
One is like a personal question, and then one is as an actor, who was your favorite part you ever played? Through plays, TV?
Well, I would have to say, I've done 13 plays over the years by Shakespeare, and I don't want to sound posh or anything, but anything he wrote was the most joy to play. He just said everything in the best way that you could say it. So, and it was always something at stake, really, and each word was like a handhold on a cliff, It was just wonderful feeling to do him. And Moliere was another one. I did a wonderful production of The Imaginary Invalid with Pete Dinklage, who played my little maid. And I read the play and I said, God, this thing was written in the 1700s. These jokes are older than, but no, Moliere works. If you commit to it, you get huge laughs from everything he ever wrote. And but lots of things I love doing. I love doing Inside Llewyn Davis. That was to me a terrific job because I love Bob Dylan, I always have, and that whole world of Greenwich Village in the 60s and 50s. I grew up in that world. I was always in the city, and so those are things I remember very fondly.
You get a second question?
Yes.
Yes. Go for it. It's fine.
You brought it up, and I was going to bring it up to you. I'm so sorry about the loss of your wife. She was like my best friend, and we took care of each other in rough time. I just lost my father.
Just lost.
My father.
Okay.
So I was wondering if there was some kind of way that you're getting through, or maybe some kind of flash of light that Neelix could give me, or some kind of advice that one of your characters and yourself would give somebody who's struggling.
It doesn't ever go away, the grief, but you at times softens it. That's all I can say. Time softens it.
Thank you so much, and I have to be thankful to the show because it pushed through a lot of things.
Thank you, honey.
Sorry for your loss.
5. I've got 5 questions to ask. Okay. When it comes down to such an expansive career, you've talked about some of your highlights, and we've talked about, your time on Trek. For you, what's the takeaway? What's the takeaway from this career? Like, for you, any observations, some profound sense of meaning that you've had from a 50-year career, 60-year career, could I say? Well, actually, let's just say it's 5 years because he's that young.
That's a great question. I can't believe that I'd made a living from this business. I just can't believe I made a living as an actor. I mean, if actors were deer, you'd have to shoot 2/3 of the herd. I mean, there's just, most actors earn as much as some poets, That's the thing. And I made a living from doing what I absolutely love. So the takeaway is I was a lucky dude.
You're also really bloody good at what you did.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
That helps a lot.
Yeah. So, just one really quick. You got to work with Renee in Benson.
Yeah.
Can you just shed some light on some of the fun?
Oh, well, here's a story I told some of the people. Renee played Clayton Endicott, and I played Pete Downey. And one day, while he was doing Odo and I was doing Neelix, nobody saw this, but I was walking outside of stage 7, and Renee was walking the other way outside of stage 16, at 17, and we crossed each other, and I was in full makeup and he was in full Odo makeup, and I looked at him and said, "Clayton, the governor is really pissed off at you." And Renee, without missing a beat, went, "Peter, Peter, Peter."
Absolutely brilliant. I think that's it.
I think that's the best way to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Ethan.
Let's give this man a huge round of applause.
Yeah. For Ethan. Be sure to go by his table, get an autograph of the CD, help the Star Trek Voyager documentary, because we really want to see that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we're over in Podcast Alley if you want to hang out with the Captain's Quadrant. I'm Joe Dove. We got Jason.
Thanks, guys. You're an amazing audience.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
All right.